私が幸せじゃなかったら、満たされてなかったら、こんな物語は書けないよ。なのに、忘れてごめんね。
神様の声、区切り企画、ギリギリの場所に立ち見上げる世界で生まれた言葉、空を埋め尽くすよ。さあ吐き出せ、世界を作り直すんだ。空の青、水に変わり溺れる人々。光を求めてたどり着く先に、今もかけろのように揺れる。可能性求めあまた繰り返し、だけど信じているから、ずっとこの先もそれは蛍のように儚くても切なくても輝き続けたい。好きだけどまだ言えないの、わがままな恋心、目の前の運命の螺旋越えて、それでもすぐ飛び込んで抱きしめて、時の数だけいつまでも。桜舞う夜にもう一度夢を見よう。現実を脱ぎ捨て花になろう。遥かな風のささやき、耳を澄ませばほら。Amatsutsumi.
All right, welcome back. And oh man, the volume. Give me a second. Sorry. My mic was set to max. I mean the monitor of my mic. So because I was recording earlier. Anyway, let's continue. After that, I quickly changed to my seifuku and had breakfast with everyone. It was more rushed than usual, but at least I won't have to sprint to school, thanks to Kyouko and Suzuka. Mana and Kokoro walk on ahead, while Kyouko and Suzuka and I form a second group. Surprisingly, Mana seems to be fairly thoughtful when it comes to Kyouko and Suzuka. I imagine half of that is just that she wants Kyoko's issues to be resolved quickly so that she won't have to stay so close to me anymore though.
Kyouko, 楽しい？楽しいですよ。鈴鹿が来てくれたおかげです。鈴鹿は退屈じゃありませんか？楽しい。そうですか。よかった。
Kyoko said she wanted the three of us to walk side by side, so that's what we're doing. It's like mother, daughter, dad. It's a Kazaku. As usual, she's in the center, while Suzuka and I sandwich her on either side. Yeah, it does feel like it. Suzuka seems happy to be able to talk now, so she often proactively talks to us. Her tone of voice is flat, and for the most part, she just says single words. But those words have clearly started to show emotions too. Kyouko seems very happy about that, but I'm still seeing a bit of tiredness in her expression from time to time, which worries me.
Kyouko? ちょっといいかしら。はい、もちろんです。何でしょうか。
Once we arrive at school, Mana is waiting for us in the hallway. Apparently, she has something to talk to Kyouko about.
一つだけ確認したいことがあるのよ。まさかとは思うけれど。あなた、恋人気分でいるのかしら？
You know, I think Mana knows.
それは誠くんという意味ですか？他にどういう意味があるの？
It's probably because she doesn't want others to hear, but Mana isn't speaking particularly loudly. Kotodama users never particularly need to raise their voices anyway.
どうなの、京子。私はあなたの意思を確認しておきたいの。
Oh, she's scouting for potential rivals.
もし、あなたがずうずうしくも、誠を自分のものにしようと考えているのなら、私も考えないといけない。とんでもない。
Kyouko shakes her head quickly.
私なんかが誠くんの恋人なんて絶対ありえません。私はむしろ誠くんに巫女として使えるくらいの感じで、お友達になっていただいただけでも恐れ多いことなのに、恋人なんてとても想像しただけで恐縮しすぎて死んでしまいます。
Does she really feel that serious about it? I have to say, it's a little strange to claim you could never be someone's lover when you already kissed and even had sex with them. little did this guy know. Anyway. Maybe she's thinking of those acts primarily as being for Suzuka's sake, or mine, rather than her own. By the way, this is a very convenient way to say, even if she's aware Makoto's having sex with other people, it's like, yeah, it's, you know, it's totally fine. I'm just one of those girls for him to call. Anyway, that does sound like her, but the thought makes me a little sad all the same.
それがあなた自身の意思なのね。はい、男女にも釣り合う格というものがあると思います。誠くんには私なんかよりもっとはるかにふさわしい方がいるでしょう。それこそマナちゃんのような素晴らしい方が。よくわかっているじゃない。
she really knows how to say the right words to Mana there. Mana nods with a satisfied smile.
あなたは賢いわね、京子。これからもその気持ちを忘れずにいてちょうだい。はい。
Suddenly, Kyouko inhales sharply, her eyes going wide. She is looking into the classroom, specifically at Koichi's seat. This probably means yes. Suzuka must have gone over there. I let go of Suzuka's hand when we arrived at school, so I haven't seen Suzuka since then. Mana squints in the same direction as Kyouko.
なんだか、あの子、彼に懐いているようだけど。
Oh, she could see. Okay. She's probably touching Kyouko at the same time, so she could see.
ええ。わかるようになったんですね。弟だって。
Ah, so Suzuka must be playing with Koichi. Of course, Koichi doesn't notice anything, so it's more like she's playing by herself next to him. He must look very different from 10 years ago, but she still recognizes him. I guess blood ties are just that strong. Kyouko continues to look in Koichi's direction as she approaches his desk. Mana and I follow her, a half step behind.
おはよう3人とも。
おはよう。
Mana goes and sits down at her desk after greeting him. She must not care much about what Suzuka is doing. Ohio?
なんだどうした朝日奈
He seemed to have noticed that she's looking not at his face, but at the top of his head. A curious frown appears on his face.
いえ、
She can't tear her eyes away from his head.
もしかして寝癖でもついてるか
Koichi reaches up to feel his hair. Of course, there's no way he can feel Suzuka, wherever she is. I nonchalantly stand next to Kyouko and touch elbows with her. I see. Suzuka is standing behind Koichi's chair and stretching her hand out towards his head. She probably wants to pat him on the head, but can't reach. That's a normal cute scene, but I understand why Kyouko is so fascinated by it. Koichi, do you notice anything different today?
いや別になんだそりゃ
Oh, well, they really are brother and sister. Their eyes are same eye color. I mean, it should be, but like, you know. But of course, you're starting to see like those perspective issues. Like Kyoko is so zoomed in that her eyes looks larger than Koishi's. Yeah. Anyway, I thought he might be able to sense something because he's her ototo, but apparently not.
どっちかっていうと俺としては
Koichi looks back and forth between Kyoko and me, then cocks his head to the side.
やっぱりなんかお前らに微妙なそういう雰囲気を感じるんだが本当に付き合ってないのか
We're not.
にしては随分仲が良さげだよな
She's a great person, but we're not quite at the point of dating yet. He said yet.
誠刺されるなよ
What do you mean by that, bro? Huh? Okay, I'll make sure to handle knives carefully.
またお前はずれた回答しやがって
誠くんは
Koichi and Suzuka both make fun of me at the same time. Like sister and brother, I guess.
何にせよ朝比奈が楽しそうなら何よりだよ
He stands up and goes to talk to another classmate, and Suzuka follows him. Will Suzuka be alright like that? As I watch them, I talk to Kyoko in a soft voice, so the others can't hear.
そうですね。二人とも気にしていないのであれば問題はないと思います。鈴鹿が見える人もいませんし、私たち以外には。
In fact, we're the ones who should be careful not to react too strongly to Suzuka.
そうですね。どうしても気になってしまいますけど。
Since she's that feisty, she must be drawing your attention all the time. Actually, isn't it hard for you to pay attention to the teacher during class? At least Suzuka's newfound level of activity is a good sign that she's continuing to develop.
私はもう慣れましたから大丈夫だと思います。授業参観みたいで少し緊張してしまいますけど、かえって楽しいです。
What's Parents' Day?
はい、そういう生徒の家族が授業の見学に来る行事があるんです。子供が普段どんな雰囲気で学園生活を送っているのか確かめるためですね。ちょうど私たちが鈴鹿を眺めているような構図ですね。
Sokka. But wouldn't that make the classroom really crowded?
そうですね。すべての親御さんがいらっしゃるわけではありませんけど、それでも教室に入れない方も出てきます。
Sounds claustrophobic. If Mana were present at one of these Parents' Days, I'm sure she'd leave and go home right away.
まあ私の場合、大勢の幽霊がなぜかやってきたこととかもありましたけど。
That sounds rather bothersome. With a classroom full of yure, it would be hard to even go up to the blackboard and write on it, let alone read it from her seat. And normal yure don't act like Suzuka, who at least seem to have some level of intelligence. It must have been very rough. Luckily, there doesn't seem to be any yure here right now, except Suzuka.
そうですね。でもそういう時はいつも探してました。もしかしたらこの中に鈴鹿がいないかなって。
Among Us. I see. To Kyoko, seeing Yure causes her trouble, but at the same time, they can be a source of hope to her.
鈴鹿、本当に楽しそうですね。
Hi. The two of them really look like siblings, though visually Koichi seems to be the elder one.
仲の良さは昔からですよ。鈴鹿は世話焼きだったので、浅川くんの面倒も見ていたそうです。記憶がおぼろげに戻りつつあるのだと思います。でもまだ自分が事故に遭ったことは思い出せないようです。
As we look on, Koichi is talking spiritedly with another classmate. You already told her about it.
はい、もちろん鈴鹿を刺激しないようそれとなくですけど、苦しかった記憶でしょうし、思い出すのはショックでもあるでしょうか。
I agree. For a little girl like her to die in such a terrible way, she might be happier if she never regains her last memories.
私の方はどんどん思い出していますけど、昔のこと。鈴鹿、よくああいう風にじゃれついてきて、私を構ってくれました。私は鈴鹿と遊ぶのがとにかく楽しくて、鈴鹿が帰る時にはもっと遊ぼうと引き止めてばかりいましたね。そのせいで日が沈むまで帰らせないことも多くて、両親にはよく叱られました。困らせちゃダメでしょって。鈴鹿は本当に何でもできて、運動だけでなく勉強も得意でしたから、よくわからないことを教えてもらっていました。
Really? It's hard to imagine others teaching you instead of you teaching them. Well, Suzuka was 1 year older, so I guess that was normal.
意外ですか？
Yes. I thought you always had good grades since you were a kid. You're smart, so I thought you never had any trouble with classes.
買いかぶりですよ。私全然賢くないです。習慣として勉強をするようになったから、成績がまあまあ悪くないというだけで、いわゆる頭の出来で言ったら鈴鹿とは比べ物になりませんでした。
That's kind of hard to imagine. I mean, looking at the current Suzuka.
それはまだ記憶を取り戻していないからです。本物の当時の鈴鹿は本当にすごい天才だったんですから。
She's still speaking softly, but I can feel the strong conviction in her words.
京子、鈴鹿？うん。
While we're talking, Suzuka shows up. She must have had enough of playing with Koichi.
京子、楽しそう。
Ah, she has a different expression now.
ええ、楽しいですよ。鈴鹿はどうですか？楽しい。光一が元気そうだったから。
Sugui. Her vocabulary and thought processes have advanced even more since this morning. At this rate, by tomorrow she might be at the level no different from Kyouko or me.
よかったです。
Oh, so the route ending is coming soon, huh?
光一くんのこと思い出したんですね。うん、懐かしかった。
So even Yura can feel nostalgia. By appearance, at least, Suzuka seems to be the same as she was on the day she died, whereas Koichi and Kyouko have aged by 10 years. A living person feels nostalgic when meeting someone because all those years have passed since they last met. How does that logic apply to Yure?
私とのことはどれくらい思い出し
Suddenly, Kyouko lifts to one side. Kyouko, daijoubu? I recklessly put out my arm and catch her by the waist.
ありがとうございます。
A good place to catch her. What's wrong all of a sudden? Are you feeling sick?
そうかもしれません。急にふっと意識が遠のきかけて。
Yeah, I think they're being drained. You might have a fever. After righting her, I put my hand to her forehead. No, your temperature might actually be lower than normal. At least I don't feel much heat from her forehead. Her face isn't flushed either. If anything, it looks kind of pale. ごめん。
教室ですからみんないますし。
She struggles weakly in my arms.
ありがとうございました。
Class is going to start soon, but do you want to go to the nurse's office?
いえ、大丈夫です。吐き気とかそういうものはありませんから。自分の席に戻ります。
She nods farewell and reluctantly leaves my side. She walks very slowly. I watch her worriedly, but she manages to reach her desk without stumbling. Once I see her sit down, I walk back to her own seat. But there's no question that she's feeling unwell. I had to keep an eye on her today, more than usual. We just had dinner when Kyoko peeks down the stairs from the second floor. She has an apologetic look on her face.
すみません。
あら、どうしたの京子ちゃん。
本当は片付けのお手伝いをしようと思っていたんですけど。
I guess she was too busy with Suzuka and lost her chance to come and help there.
気にせずゆっくりしていればいいのに。家事のお手伝いだけで十分助かってるわよ。
そう言ってもらえるのは嬉しいんですけど。
I'll look at the spot next to her, where Suzuka probably is. I think Kyoko's offer to do the dishes must have something to do with Suzuka. Maybe she wants to show Suzuka how hardworking she is. There are still some dishes soaking in the sink. Maybe you can have her wash those. Considering how she was staggering earlier, I don't want to make her do too. So handling this situation requires a little finesse. But I suppose that if I stand next to her, washing dishes shouldn't be too much strain.
そうね。
やります。やらせてください。
そうそこまで言うならお願いね。
頑張ります。
I look to her. Kyoko smiles happily and half curls the fingers on one hand. She must be holding hands with Suzuka as she comes down the stairs. She looks a little too happy to concentrate properly on the dishes. I'll help too.
頑張ってね。
あれ、今降りてきたのって京子さんだけ？
ええ、そうよ。マナちゃんはまだ上じゃないかしら。
そっか。じゃあ私の勘違いかな。
Hearing things.
足音が2人分聞こえたような気がしたの。
Oh, she started to manifest in the physical world or something.
ああ、そういえば。
Azuki-san seems to agree with Kokoro. Nani? Can it be? I looked at Kyoko. She's already washing the dishes, and she's not at her hands but at her side. Suzuka must be there, meaning she came down the stairs along with Kyoko. Does that mean that Kokoro and Azuki-san heard Suzuka's footsteps? If so, what does this mean? You know what? I have a feeling that her wish is like literally trading the two. So, you know, if they continue, she might disappear. But Suzuka gets to... Okay, yeah, I have a feeling this was going to happen. First, Mana became able to vaguely make her out. Now even Kokoro and Azuki-san are starting to sense her presence. Does this mean that Suzuka's presence is becoming stronger somehow? Is such a thing even possible? Suddenly, Kyoko's hand slips. Oops. I reach out and catch the plate just before it falls to the floor. 危ないな。
申し訳ありません。うっかりして。
Her happy, carefree expression has quickly turned gloomy. Well, I'm sure anyone would feel that way if they volunteered to help, then immediately screwed up. That's fine, but Kyoko, are you sleepy already? Her eyelids look droopy.
はい、少しだけ。お手伝いに遅れたのもうとうとしていたからで。
Maybe you should get some sleep. You should just have gone to bed then.
大丈夫です。
Even though you almost broke a plate.
そうですね。わかりました。
I'm glad she listened to reason. But I'm still a little worried. Because I think I might know the reason why she's been feeling unwell recently. Ooh, chapter 7. I was worried about Kyoko's health, but going to bed early must have done her good. Today, she looks at least somewhat recovered.
だんだん街に人が増えてきましたね。
We're on our way home from school. Kyoko is observing the people we pass on the street as we walk. Is it because the water lantern ceremony is happening soon?
だと思います。
Oh, okay. They're gonna have a Obon thing, you know. You know what? I don't know what you actually call it, but I know it's really the Obon. But like, you know, they're gonna send her off to the water lantern thing. Just 2 days left, right?
ええ、
She laughs softly.
今年はあまり実感が湧かないんですけど、鈴鹿のことがあったから。
This afternoon, Kyoko is going to be paying a visit to the Jinja. Apparently, her parents told her they don't really need her help, but she says she feels obligated to at least do something. So she's going to go and see if there are any miscellaneous chores she can help out with. Of course, that means Suzuka and I are going along with her. Kyoko, are you sure you're all right?
大丈夫ですよ。
She smiles, but I see the sweat shining on her forehead. It's pretty hot outside, but it's not like we're walking very fast. She must still be a little out of sorts. Well, maybe it's lucky that we're physically inseparable these days. I can keep an eye on her 24/7, except when she's in the bathroom or something. Make absolutely sure not to overexert yourself, okay? You're the kind of person who's prone to overwork herself.
はい、ご心配ありがとうございます。
Once we arrive at the shrine complex, Kyoko goes to her room to change her clothes. I follow her, of course, but suddenly I start feeling doubts about my own attire. Is it okay for me to keep wearing my school uniform when Kyoko is changing into traditional Miko outfit to her traditional Miko dress? When I ask her about it, she suggests that I might as well try wearing traditional priestly garb too. That's so cute. Kyoko brings me a set of clothes, and soon we're both dressed up in matching outfits.
あー、とってもお似合いですよ、誠くん。
Well, I am more used to wearing Japanese style clothing than Western. In fact, I'm still not quite used to the school uniform I've been wearing every day.
お父さんの予備だったので、サイズが合うか心配だったんですけど、あつらえたみたいにぴったりですね。姿勢もいいですし、神々しい雰囲気と相まって本職の方よりも立派に見えますよ。
So he's a Giga Chad. I get it.
私の方がお手伝いに見えるかも。実際それで正しいんですけど。
I may look amazing. I like how he says it with a straight face. I may look amazing, but well, I doubt I can actually perform any of the shrine duties nearly as well as you can.
でしたら私が教えましょうか。竹ぼうきの使い方ならちょっとだけ自信がありますし。
You gotta make it sound like that's all Mikos do. Just sweep the floor or something. Sure, please do teach me how to do things. I wouldn't want to get in your way.
足を引っ張るだなんてそんなこと。誠くんにお付き合いいただいて本当に感謝しています。
Before long, I was sweeping the grounds, learning from Kyoko as I went along. She taught me everything in the smallest detail, from how to hold the broom with my hands to the most efficient sweeping stance. I guess, well, it might be serious business, I guess. I mean, you gotta keep the jinja clean. It's very important. I mean, religious reasons, you know. I was surprised when she hugged me from behind while guiding my hands, but she was totally focused on teaching me and clearly didn't mean anything by it. This is like the opposite situation. Usually it's the dude who's doing that, but like, okay. Now that we've covered about half the grounds, the two of us are now taking a break. We're both very sweaty because of the physical nature of the work. But it's clear that Kyouko is far more tired than I am. She's trying to act energetic, but I can tell from her face that she's exhausted.
どうぞ、タオル使ってください。甘いものとお茶も用意しましたから、よろしかったらどうぞ。
She gonna survive this day? Holy shit! I feel she's really tired. Actually, I feel tired from work, but like all I'm doing is just sitting down reading. We sit next to each other, drinking the kocha. It's really delicious. I can tell how parched my body has been. After drinking the kocha, Kyouko looks a little bit better. Do you mind? I take Kyoko's hand and look around for Suzuka. I find her immediately. She's standing a short distance away, looking at me and Kyouko with a smile.
ずっと鈴鹿も手伝おうとしてくれてたんですよ。気持ちだけはね、手伝いたくても触れないから。
Oh man, her speech is going full. She shrugs with an impish smile, then looks towards the shrine's complex entrance arch.
暑いの苦手だから日陰で涼んでたよ。
Wait, a Yura can feel heat? What do you mean? So ghosts can feel the heat too? Kinda makes you think, huh? She's not at all speaking like a toddler anymore. Now it feels more like I'm talking to a child. That's the actual age she looks. Actually, she even seems more grown up than that. But I don't know what Suzuka was like when she was alive, so I can't really say.
鈴鹿、どうかしたの？お客さんみたい。多分参拝の人かな。
Oh, I see them. I didn't notice as quickly as she did, but now I can see someone approaching.
二人ともよくわかりましたね。
She's already getting up to go and greet the newcomer. I don't bother following her, but until I see who it is.
よう、朝比奈。それに、お、ちゃんと誠もいるな。
It's Koichi. Of course.
こんにちは、浅川くん。どうしたんですか？
Do you not usually come here? Kyouko looks a little surprised, so I asked the obvious question.
俺が今まで足を運ばなかったからな。もしかして仕事中だったか？
いえ、今は休憩中です。お気遣いなく。
Yep. Welcome, Koichi. Is it weird for me to say that?
その格好なら問題ないと思うぞ。っていうか、最初見た時は誰か分かんなかった。
I came here in my school seifuku, but I didn't want it to get dirty while cleaning, so I borrowed these instead.
はあ、やけに似合うな、お前。
Thanks.
ありがとうございます。
I think he was praising me, not Kyouko, but she thanks him too.
浅川くんは参拝しに来たんですか？
そうだな。まあせっかくだからそのつもりだが、今日はここの手伝いをするって誠が言ってたから、墓参りのついでに冷やかし半分に来てみたってわけさ。
Oh yeah?
お墓、もしかして鈴鹿の？
ああ、朝比奈たちのおかげで自分の気持ちに一区切りついたし、いい機会だと思ってさ。家の仏壇と墓と、それと湖にも花を備えてきた。どっかしらで鈴鹿に届いてるといいんだけどな。
Kyouko looks at him with a difficult expression in her face. She must be wishing that he could see Suzuka's Yurei.
そうだったんですか。ありがとうございます。というのも変でしょうか。
お疲れ様ってあたりでいいんじゃね？
そうですね。お疲れ様でした。お茶とお菓子まだまだありますから、浅川くんもいかがですか？
ああ、ありがとな。せっかくだからいただくわ。
He comes and sits down next to us. Kyouko sits down on the other side of me and slowly touches my hand. Suzuka looks happier than before, now that Koichi has arrived. You came at the perfect time, Koichi.
まあそうだな。おやつにもありつけたし。
A natural response, considering he can't see her. Azuki-san and Kokoro were able to hear her footsteps last night, so I thought Koichi might at least be able to sense her presence somehow. But even I can't notice her unless Kyouko is touching me. Kyoko's own recent transformation aside, Suzuka's effect on people seems to vary from person to person.
しかし今日は暑いわ。参っちまうな。鈴鹿が生きていたら大喜びだったろうけど。
Huh? Really?
ああ、寒いのが苦手だから暑いくらいがいいんだってよく言ってた。太陽の光をいっぱいに浴びて、その中で水遊びするのは最高だってな。
I see. Wait, why did Suzuka change expression? I can't help but glance at Suzuka and Kyouko. Didn't Suzuka just say she wasn't good with the heat? Maybe your preferences can change after you die and become a Yurei.
どうした？
Oh, nothing. I just thought it was odd to actually like this kind of heat. Oh yeah, there was also that question whether this is the actual Suzuka or some reconstruction of Suzuka. You know what I mean? I think Amana, who also loves hot weather, but I doubt Suzuka had an eternal snow Kotodama put on her like Mana did.
まあ確かに鈴鹿はちょっと、いや、だいぶ変わったやつだったしな。
Yeah, it's only possible this Suzuka's mead is I'm thinking about parallel. My brain is creating. This is something that has already been in one of the VNs we read. I'm trying to remember. Wait, I need to take a short break. I'm starting to feel tired. I need to stretch for a little bit. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm feeling tired, man. I better continue before I want to do at least 2 hours today. And during break, I bought some Subahibi merch. God damn it, man. Anyway.
弟の俺が言うのもなんだが、変人でいろいろ困らされただろ。朝日奈、突拍子もない思いつきでわがまま言ったりさ。本人としては悪気はなかったんだろうけど。
いえ、そんなことは。
Oh yeah, before I continue, the thing I remembered earlier, now I remember, it's from Sakura Moyu. It's either the Yoronoko ni Azusa or how Mashiro described herself. But anyway.
身内の前だからって遠慮しなくていいぜ。ほら、朝比奈がうちの用事で帰らなくちゃいけないのに、鈴鹿がもっと遊ぶんだってだだこねまくったとかあったよな。
そんなこともありましたか？
あったあった。今でもよく覚えてるよ。
Koichi's version of that story sounds pretty different from the way Kyouko was telling it earlier. Well, I guess Kyouko and Suzuka spent lots of times together. Maybe some days Kyouko kept Suzuka late, and other days Suzuka kept Kyouko late. Either way, it seems Koichi doesn't remember his Ane being as perfect as Kyouko does. Suzuka herself is quietly listening to us, but as she realizes we're talking about her, she doesn't show it.
ほんと、鈴鹿は朝比奈の世話になりまくってたよな。勉強だって朝比奈から教えてもらうような始末で、どっちが年上だか分かったもんじゃなかった。
There it is again. It's becoming very clear that the Suzuka that Koichi remembers is quite different from the one Kyoko remembers. You know what? This is the kind of BN. This BN has a lot of things to make you think. Not gonna lie, this BN makes you think. I like it.
まあそれでも大したやつだったのは確かだけどな。妙に人を引きつける魅力があったよ。
I see. I somehow had the idea that she was a more grown-up kind of kid than what you describe.
いや全然地頭は悪くなかったと思うが、村っ気が激しい気分屋でさ、自分の興味のあることとないことの差がはっきりしてた。
Well, okay. There's also the possibility of you know what happened with Kokoro earlier when they were strained before she was hypnotized to believe that Makoto was his niece-san. You know, she kept him at a distance, and she was the way she acted isn't as clingy and as the kind of girl she is the moment she became his imoto. You know, maybe it's a similar situation, but now let's say we are in the perspective of Hotaru, and it's kind of different.
まあでもあの年の子供ならそんなもんじゃないか。
He's right. Honestly, the version of Suzuka he talks about sounds like an average kid of that age. Kyoko's version is the one that sounds a little too good to be true. It's also possible that remember, considering how Kyoko tends to overly see someone else as super positive, you know what I mean? I wonder if the reality is actually in between, it could be. I don't know.
あれか？もしかして朝比奈が大げさに持って喋ったんじゃないか？死人をけなすのは申し訳ないとか思って。
Oh.
いえ、鈴鹿は本当に立派な人でしたよ。
そうそう、神社の本殿内で鬼ごっこして叱られたこともあったよな。あの時の胴に入った叱られっぷりは立派だったと言えなくない。
It sounds like she was pretty naughty.
悪ガキまではいかないにしても、まあお世辞にも貧困法制じゃなかったぜ。
He nods himself, deep in recollection.
そうでしたか。
そうだよ。まあ朝日奈の目から見たらそれでもってとこはあったんだろうけど、何せ行動力だけは人一倍どころか100倍くらいあったからな。
はい、そうです。すごい行動力でした。
一度こうと決めたら絶対に諦めなかったもんな。
ええ。
So, their two versions of Suzuka aren't completely different people. There's plenty they agree on, but I can't explain the difference in their memories of her. It's perspective, it's as simple as that. I mean, there's also fidelity due to memory, And honestly, Koshi's version seems more realistic than Kyoko's.
リーダーシップというかキャプテンシーというか、とにかく人を集めてまとめる才能はやたらとあった。
はい。
Nah, Koichi.
ん？
Did Suzuka like sweet things like these cookies? I point at the few remaining cookies. Suzuka has been looking at them enviously since Kyoko brought them out. And the other day, when I put a donatsu on a plate for her, she seemed interested in it, though she couldn't talk at the time.
いや、好きじゃなかったな。むしろしょっぱいものとか辛いものが好きだったよ。せんべいとかそういう。だから供え物もうちではいつもそういうものばかりだな。
Sokka. Kyoko is looking straight ahead with a kind of dazed expression. What is going on? I imagine Kyoko must be thinking about this too. Oh. Meanwhile, Suzuka stays silent, nestled up to Kyoko. Now that brings into question, who is this Suzuka? Or what is she exactly?
そんじゃ俺はそろそろ帰るわ。長話に付き合わせて悪かったな。
Because okay, so the whole memory thing could, their impressions of her could be easily explained. But the moment he mentioned things about like preferences about like food, that's hard to it's hard to it's hard to be very subjective unless it's very close. You know how some food could be like, oh, this is spicy, oh, but she really could handle very more spicy. But straight up opposite, straight up from a different um dimension, or what's the terminology? Anyway, straight up different flavor dimension. Yeah, you can't you can't you can't have different perspectives on that.
いえ、お気になさらず。楽しかったです。また、いつでも来てくださいね。
あ、気が向いたらブラッと来るわ。ごちそうさん。
He waves goodbye, then heads down the front steps. Kyoko and I wave in return, and Suzuka is probably waving too. I don't have to see her to guess that. But what I've learned of her over the past few days, it sounds like what she would probably do. But that aside, there are a few things I need to understand. Kyoko,
はい。
I see her shoulders tremble when I call her name. She probably guesses what I want to ask her. When I take her hand in mine, I see Suzuka standing next to her, with a somewhat troubled expression in her face. Or perhaps I should say, the girl that I think is Suzuka. This girl.
鈴鹿がどうかしましたか？
Uh, hmm. I think for a moment, then ask Suzuka herself a favor. Suzuka, I want to talk to Kyoko about something important. Would you mind leaving us alone for a few minutes?
いいよ。
She readily assents, then walks some distance away, turns her back to us, and sits down.
何のつもりですか、誠くん。
I think I might not want her to hear what we're about to talk about. I speak softly. She gasps. Kyoko, do you think she's the real Suzuka?
そうとしか考えられません。
Yeah, the way her expression changes to some determined face, you know she's not willing to accept any other option here. All right, let's see how this goes. I see she understands what I'm getting at. Her response is not confusion, but defiance. But when Koichi was reminiscing about her just now, there were so many things that seemed different about his version of Suzuka, no?
それは、多分、私の記憶違いだと思います。何分昔のことですから。
Sure, I think you're right. But that doesn't explain why this Suzuka herself differs from his recollection, does it? She directly told us she didn't like the heat. She seemed interested in the sweet snacks we were eating.
それは、
Kyoko is obviously shaken by my words. She must have some idea what's behind this. Kyoko, you have some kind of explanation for this, don't you? If so, don't hide it. Tell me. She doesn't speak for some time. She must be very conflicted about whether to tell me. I could use my kotodama again to make her spit it out, but I want her to decide to tell me of her own accord.
それは、きっと。
She finally speaks, in a voice so soft I can barely hear it.
あの鈴鹿は、私が作り出したものだから、だと思います。
You created her?
はい。
She nods resignedly and looks over at Suzuka, who is still sitting with her back turned to us.
あの時、鈴鹿がここに現れた時、自分の中から大きな何かが抜けていくような感覚がありました。多分、誠くんたちが言霊を使う時も、そんな感じではないですか？
Ja, my power alone wasn't enough for my wish to reach Suzuka's Yure, but with your power added, she was able to hear us. That's what Kyoko said the other day. Now I know the full meaning of those words.
はい。私は言霊を使ったのだと思います。誠くんの力を借りて。
What have we done?
そう考えると納得がいきます。あの鈴鹿は私の記憶の中の鈴鹿なんです。
You realized this from the very beginning?
なんとなく
最初から
ですけど、確信はありませんでした。
And what about your inaccurate memories of her? How do you explain that?
わかりません。でも、無意識に自分でそう思い込もうとしていたのかもしれません。言霊を使った時に、過去がそうだったらいいのに、と理想を。
So the Kotodama partially acted on Kyoko herself too, affecting her memories of Suzuka. Many things make more sense now. And Suzuka's mind was created with Kyoko's as a blueprint. It's no wonder Suzuka seems like she's matured even beyond her apparent age. But Kotodama is a power that imbues your words with a part of your soul. And it can't make someone do something they would be unable to do otherwise. If you use a Kotodama to order someone to fly, they wouldn't be able to. So it is possible that Kyoko actually had a latent ability to create Yurei. Clearly, our Suzuka isn't just Kyoko's personal hallucination, since even Mana and Kokoro can sense her presence to a degree. I have a very bad feeling about this.
誠くん、
Anyway, now that we know, it's clear what we had to do. I had to cancel the Kotodama and uncreate Suzuka. Or more precisely, I might have to use my Kotodama to order Kyoko to use her Kotodama, which is actually my Kotodama. To uncreate Suzuka. Thanks for the whirlwind of Kotodamas there. If Suzuka was born out of Kyoko's own Tamashi, as I expect, then that should work. It's unfortunate, but if this Yurei isn't the real Suzuka, it seems that Kyoko's wish can't be fulfilled after all.
ダメです。
So I eventually lets go of my hand and rushes towards Suzuka. She seems to hug thin air as she collapses into a heap on the ground. I silently walked to her and put my hand on her shoulder.
消すなんて絶対にダメです。この子は鈴鹿です。鈴鹿なんです。せっかくまた会えたのに。
Kyoko, I understand how you feel, but
浅川くんだって見えないからわからないだけで、姿を見ればこれは鈴鹿に間違いないって言うに決まってます。なんで消さなくちゃいけないんですか？このまま鈴鹿がいてくれることの何が悪いんですか？
I really do understand her feelings all too well. Even though she isn't the real Suzuka, this Yurei is almost like Suzuka's reincarnation. It's not surprising that Kyoko would find it hard to say goodbye. Demo.
それでも鈴鹿を消すんですか？鈴鹿はここにいるんです。意志があって会話ができて触れられるんですよ。だったらもう生きているのと変わらないじゃないですか。そんなのまた鈴鹿を死なせるようなものじゃないですか。
Suddenly, Kyoko's eyes go unfocused. Kyoko! She sways and falls to my arms. Unlike the last time, her limbs had gone limp too.
大丈夫です。少しめまいがしただけで。大丈夫ですから、心配しないでください。
She keeps repeating that she's fine, but she sounds delirious. She sounds as if she'll lose consciousness if she doesn't keep saying the words. The whole time, Suzuka gazes at her sadly and says simply,
ごめんね。
Chapter 8. Even though it's not a work day, there are practically no customers in the Kiseten. Apparently, this kind of thing happens sometimes. As a result, I'm able to handle the Kiseten all by myself today. I think about Kyoko, who's sleeping up on the second floor. Yesterday, after she collapsed at the Jinja, I managed to get her back here, half carrying her with her arm around my shoulders. Kokoro and Azuki-san were very worried and suggested that we take her to the Byoin, but Kyoko firmly refused, saying she just needed sleep. In practice, I don't think it would have done much good to take her to the Byoin. If what we deduced yesterday evening is correct, the reason she's so weakened is that she used her own life force to create Suzuka. That's one more reason it's dangerous to leave Suzuka the way she is. But I want to make sure I convince Kyoko before I go ahead and uncreate Suzuka. Otherwise, I risk re-traumatizing Kyoko, and just after she begun to change for the better, emotionally.
誠、ちょっと話があるわ。
Is it about Kyoko?
ええ、ついさっき目を覚ましたのだけど。
Oh. How's she feeling?
熱はないわ。ただ、とにかく体がだるくて、フラフラするみたいよ。
そっか。
でも、無理にでも出かけると言って聞かないから、言霊で寝かしつけてきたところ。
Leaving the house? What for?
あの幽霊がいなくなったって。さ、見当たらないから探しに行くって。
What? Suzuka is gone?
そうみたい。何度も呼んでみたけど出てこないって。私も気配を感じなかったわ。
What's going on? Could Suzuka have just naturally dissipated? That seems unlikely.
京子は、あの子と繋がっている感覚があるみたいよ。まだ。
And so she went looking. Does that mean Suzuka has grown to be able to go more than 10 meters away from Kyoko? No. Mate. Just because I'm bound within 10 meters of her doesn't mean that Suzuka ever was. I'm jumping to conclusions.
しばらくしたら戻ってくるかもしれないわよ。とも言ってみたけれど、まるで聞く耳持たなかったわ。だから面倒になって眠らせたの。
Arigato, Mana.
私がやらなくても、誠が同じことをしたでしょ。
Well, yeah.
で、いつまで京子の好きにさせておくつもりなの？あまり悠長にほったらかしておくと、遠からず死ぬわよ。
She speaks matter-of-factly, but that makes her words resound all the more heavily in my heart. So, I was right.
あの幽霊は、京子が言霊で生み出したもの。違う？
That's what we think. So we realized it too.
さっきの京子の取り乱しぶりを見ていたら、ね。京子は自分の命をあの幽霊に与えようとしている。たとえ自分が死んだとしても構わない。そういう気持ちなのだと思うわ。きっと、この間の誠のようにね。
Mana is talking about when I spent my own life force to save Azuki-san, of course. I won't let her do that. I'll stop her no matter what.
そうね。私も同意見よ。あの時の私の気持ち、分かってもらえたかしら？
Mana, gomen. Gomenasai. Arigato. Without her, I'd have died by then. And even now, she's still trying to help me. It's easy to forget, but Mana has done so much and given up so much. For my sake.
いいわ。別に、せっかく美味しいドーナツが作れるのに、京子を失うのはもったいないものね。
Sure. She's still a straight face, and I can't tell whether she's joking or serious. Probably serious, actually.
で、話を戻すけど、いつまで京子の好きにさせるつもりなの？さっさとあの幽霊、 鈴鹿をどうにかしないと、京子の命はどんどん吸い取られて衰弱していくと思うわ。さっさと京子に言霊を使ってあの幽霊を消してしまえばいいのよ。
Well, I know, but I don't think Kyouko would be able to accept that.
それも言霊で対処できるでしょ。どうしても誠がやりたくないなら、私がやってもいいけど。
No. No. There's no need for that. I'm glad she's so concerned, but I think I still have a few tricks up my sleeve. I'm sorry to ask this, but could you keep an eye on Kyouko for me? And if she tries to do something reckless again, can you put her back to sleep again?
仕方ないわね。わかったわ。
She lets out a small sigh, but then looks sharply at me again.
あの子、鈴鹿を探しに行くつもり？
Hi. I'll go and find Suzuka, talk to her, and convince her to disappear of her own accord. I'll bring her back to the house first, so that she can talk to Kyouko and say goodbye, and hopefully give her some closure. That's probably the best solution available to us now. Forgive me, Hotaru. Now I start to see what you meant when you hope that this Suzuka's life could be respected in its own right. I like how he randomly remembered Hotaru for some reason. But okay. Wait, that means Hotaru understands what exactly Suzuka is. Maybe. But I'm afraid that if I had to choose between Kyouko and Suzuka, between the living and the dead, the choice could be more clear.
でも、どうやって見つけるつもりなの？見えないのに。
I do have a plan. I don't know why, but Hotaru was able to see Suzuka from the very beginning. Oh, okay, so Hotaru is so back. I'll give her a call and tell her what's going on and ask for her help. Yeah, it's been a while since we see Hotaru, so
そう。でも、誠と京子は離れて行動できないのでしょ？
yes, but something tells me I might not have to anymore. I've been moving around the house during the day while Kyouko was asleep upstairs, but I was never tripped up by the invisible barrier like usual. I knew it. I'm able to escape somehow. I find that I'm able to venture out onto the street without any trouble. Will they explain this later on, or will this be some bullshit? I hope they do explain something. I'm willing to accept anything. I'm quite sure that this is more than 10 meters away from where Kyouko is sleeping.
どういうことなのかしら？
I don't know. Maybe whatever channel had formed between us had been cut. Somehow.
だとしたら、それだけ京子が弱っているということではないかしら。あまり猶予はないと思った方がいい。もし、私の方で京子が限界だと思ったら、その時は。
Yes. If that happens, I'll rely on your kotodama to save her. She nods and returns inside as I proceed onward. As I walk, I take out my ketai and dial Hotaru's dewa bango. Of course, as I do this, I make sure to look around in all directions to see if I can spot Suzuka anywhere. If Kokoro and Azuki-san could sense her presence, maybe I can too. At least, that's my hope. Hotaru isn't picking up. I'll try again later. In the meantime, I'll keep looking for Suzuka. I've been walking for some time when Hotaru calls me back. After I explain the situation to her, she tells me to please come to the lake. Why the lake? There she is. I spot Hotaru, looking out onto the water, and beside her, Suzuka? There's no mistaking it. That is Suzuka. Hoi! Hotaru! I run up to them, calling Hotaru's name. She waves to me, and Suzuka smiles a little awkwardly. What is going on? And of course, it has to be Hotaru.
こんにちは、誠さん。久しぶりな感じですね。
Yes, people just forgot about her somehow. But now she's back. Yes, it does. You haven't been coming to the Genshin recently, Hotaru.
ホタルなりに気を使っているんですよ。これでも大人ですから。
That's the I mean, she twirls in place, then narrows her eyes.
誠さんのその顔だと、やっぱり今はこの子が見えてるんですね。
Hi. I turn to look at Suzuka. I really can see her as clear as day. If I didn't know otherwise, I would think she was a normal human being. She seems just as real as Hotaru standing next to her. I didn't realize she had developed this far.
たまたまなんですよ。散歩していたら向こうから鈴鹿さんがやってきて、ちょっと話してみたら意気投合しまして。
Wait a second. And just like that, tighter than peas in a pod. But when you use that expression, anyway, she smiles and it's like she read my mind.
ホタルの話、すごく面白いから。
Suzuka, there are many things I want to talk to you about. But for now, please, would you come back with me? Kyouko is in a bad way. To be honest, what I'm going to say will sound very cruel to you, Suzuka. Demo.
言いたいことは分かってるよ。私のせいで京子は倒れちゃったんだよね。
So, you knew.
まあね。だって京子の命をもらってるんだし、幽霊である私の方が京子よりそういうことには敏感なんだよ。まあここまで考えられるようになったのはついさっきのことだけど。
I see. Well, if you know that much, then you can probably imagine what I'm planning to do.
京子を助けるためには私がこのままだとまずいよね。
She smiles forlornly. She's overflowing with humanity, completely different from when she first appeared. I honestly didn't think she had become such a full-fledged person.
一番最初はね、夢の中にいるみたいにぼんやりしてたの。夢うつつで何も考えられないくらいに。でもね、ふっと遠くから京子の声が聞こえたの。私に生きていてほしいって。そこからだんだん夢から覚めるみたいに意識がはっきりしていって、気がついたら京子が隣にいて誠くんがいた。本当は私が死んで鈴鹿が生きるべきだったんです。
Those were the words which must have mixed with my own power to form the kotodama that summoned Suzuka. Now Kyouko, trapped in the snare of death, is trying to offer her own life so that this Suzuka-shaped something can live.
私がしなければいけないこと分かってるよ。でもね、やっぱりちょっと消えるのは辛いの。もっと京子と一緒にいたいなって。おかしいよね。私は京子から生まれた京子の分身みたいなもので、私が生きていたら京子本体は死んでしまって結局一緒にいられなくなるのに。
She understands the reasoning, but that doesn't change the emotion she feels. That's a common occurrence in this world. In fact, it might be more common for one's emotions and one's intellect to be out of alignment than otherwise. To be with your loved ones forever is something everyone desires. Your feelings aren't strange at all, Suzuka.
ありがとう、誠くん。ちょっと救われた気がする。そう言ってもらえて。ずっと気持ちがぐるぐる同じところを回っていたから。
She smiles bashfully, then looks at me as if asking for me to save her. No, she does want me to save someone, but not herself. She wants me to save Kyouko. Sumari, she's asking me to erase her from existence.
なんだか話がまとまりそうなところで蒸し返して申し訳ないんですけれど、
Hotaru raises her hand as if to ask for permission to speak.
どうしてそのまま京子さんの願いを叶えてあげないんですか？
Grant her wish? I mean,
自分が死んでもいいから親友に生きていてもらいたい。京子さんはそう思ったんでしょ？
wait, how come does Hotaru know her wish anyway?
普通なら叶わないその願いが誠さんがいたおかげで現実になった。蛍としてはとっても素晴らしいことだと思いますけど。
Now, that's an objection I certainly didn't expect to hear. Do you understand what you're saying? Kyouko will literally die.
でもこの子は生き残ることができるじゃないですか。
Why are you bringing this up, Hotaru? What are you doing? What are you doing?
親の代わりに子が幸せになる、そういうのもありだと蛍は思いますけど。
Demo, she does have a point. If Kyouko had been beyond hope of saving, I'm sure I would have wanted her to at least die with her wish fulfilled.
でも私は本物の鈴鹿じゃないし、京子の本当の願い、この湖で死んだ鈴鹿が生き返るわけじゃない。
She looks out far past the shallows, squinting at the glitter of sunlight on the water.
それは外側の理屈ですよ。京子さん自身が本物だと信じていればそれで幸せなんじゃないですか？
What is Hotaru doing? What is she doing? I mean, Kyouko has the right to say something here. I mean, Kyouko has the right for this, to wish for her own end. But, like, you know, you're not Kyouko. As someone who likes, loves Kyouko, or whatever, friend, or whatever, you know, it's not something you want for your friend, right? So, but she fixes me with her clear gaze.
でも私も京子を死なせたくないよ。京子の理想の鈴鹿である私も。
Why is Hotaru? Is Hotaru projecting? Is Hotaru a projection? Just like Suzuka? What is this? Hotaru makes no reply. I think it's very noble to want to risk your own life to save someone else. And I'm sure that's what the real Suzuka wanted when she died here 10 years ago. But I also can't deny that Kyouko suffered as a result of that decision.
それなら鈴鹿さんが消えて京子さんを助けたらまた同じ苦しみを味わうじゃないですか。
That's true, but
仕方ないんだよね。一度そっち側に行ってしまったんだから。かわいそうだけど京子には生きて頑張ってもらいたい。
why is Hotaru like surprised? Like she really wanted her.
私との別れを乗り越えて幸せになってほしい。
Suzuka.
多分ね、私もしこのまま京子から命をもらい続けたとしても本当の人間にはなれないと思う。
That's the correct way of thinking it. Why is Hotaru reacting like this?
だって意識はこんなに成長したのに見た目は相変わらず子供のままなんだよ。
She's right. Ever since she first appeared, there hasn't been even the slightest change in how she looks. Probably she's frozen in the form Kyouko most strongly remembers from the time of her death.
やっぱりおかしいでしょ、そんなの。人に姿が見えるようになったのなら なおさら。
She studies her own hand and smiles sadly.
それにそもそもあまり長くは生きられない気がするし、大切な京子の命を使ってまで束の間の生を得るくらいなら、私は諦めることを選ぶよ。なるほど、そうですね。
Damn it, I clicked too early. After thinking for a moment, Hotaru stands up and dusts off her clothes.
そろそろ帰りますね。これ以上鈴鹿さんを引き止めていては京子さんに心配かけちゃいますし。
You know what? I'm not surprised if Hotaru is actually as tall. I mean, she's not that tall enough that Suzuka is just close to her height. I'm willing to believe it. Ah, that's right. Kyoko was searching for you, Suzuka.
ごめんね、わざわざ探しに来てもらっちゃって。蛍も長い時間話し相手になってくれてありがとう。こちらこそ有意義な時間でした。あなたと会えて楽しかったですよ。さよなら、鈴鹿さん。
After waving goodbye, Hotaru turns and walks away down this lake shore.
ねえ、誠くん、手を出して。
Hmm? Like this? I put my hand out as requested. Suzuka unfolds my hand in both of her own. I don't feel any warmth, but I do feel the touch of something solid.
やっぱり触れた。
Suzuka, how did you...
誠くんは私のこと見えるから、もしかしてって思ったの。
This is incredible. She really is becoming less and less like a Yurei, and more like a Ningen.
それだけ京子の死が近づいてきてるってことでもあるけどね。取り返しがつかなくなる前に私が消えないと。
Suzuka, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for putting you through all of this suffering.
いいの。ありがとう、誠くん。まずは私が消えることを京子に納得してもらわないとね。
Arigato, Suzuka.
それと一つだけお願い。今夜一晩だけ時間をもらえる？
What?
私は偽物だけど、不思議とやっぱり浅川家のことが気になるの。だからこっそり覗いてお別れをしてこようと思って。
Sure. I understand. Suzuka has been especially attached to Koichi since even before her mind fully developed. Although she's not his homono ane. Yeah, maybe precisely because she's not his homono ane. She has special attachment to those familiar bonds.
ありがとう。何せ心残りがあると成仏って難しそうだから。
She giggles, then shakes my hand, as if to seal a deal.
「おかえりなさい、誠くん。」
Konnichiwa? Are you okay to be up?
はい、おかげさまで。心配をかけてすみません。まだ寝ていた方がいいと言ったのよ。一応ね。すみません。なんだか胸騒ぎがして。
She looks around the area where I'm standing. I'd have to ask in order to know who she's looking for. I found Suzuka, but she won't be coming home today.
どうして？
She wanted to see how her family was doing, the Asakawas.
そうですか。
Let's talk more inside. Kyoko and I went up to my room and explained to her the conversation I had with Suzuka and Hotaru. Kokoro and Azuki-san were also worried about Kyoko, but Mana used her kotodama to keep them away for now. Just to keep the cast short, small by the way. Which means that at this rate, and there's a strong possibility that you could lose your life, Kyoko. You don't seem surprised.
予想して。いえ、それを願っていましたから。
I can't imagine that she's already resigned herself to death. And yet she speaks with surprising calmness. Were you planning to sacrifice yourself from the very beginning? I mean, that's literally her wish.
どうしてそう思うんですか？
I should have died, and Suzuka should have lived. Those were the words of your Kotodama. Did you place your life on the scales to bring Suzuka back to life? Yeah, the crater on you?
いいえ、そういうつもりではありませんでした。本当は、鈴鹿と一緒にずっと生きていきたいんです。でも、それは無理だろう、わがままだろうって、心のどこかで思っていたのかもしれません。代償もなく、願いが叶えられることなんてありえないって。
Her voice is contemplative.
私の命は最初から鈴鹿から借りたものだったんです。私がもらった幸せも本来は鈴鹿のものだったんですから。家族との触れ合いも友人との交流も将来への希望も大好きな人との時間も鈴鹿が私に譲ってくれたものなんです。私は鈴鹿がくれた時間を満足に活かせませんでしたけど、それでも幸せでした。鈴鹿にもこの幸せを感じてほしい。そのために私はこの命を鈴鹿に返したい。今はそう思っています。
I can't blame her for her choice to return her life to Suzuka, as she puts it. Yeah, to her, it probably isn't even a choice. It's just her natural inclination.
返すことが当たり前なんですから、私がしていることは鈴鹿への贖罪ですらありません。恩返しにすらなるかわかりませんから、せめて感謝だけでも伝えたいんです。鈴鹿のおかげでこれまで幸せでしたって、笑顔でお別れをしたいんです。
It's not that she actively wants to die. She just sees it the only way to achieve her goal. At least, that's how it appears to me. And I'm sure that's the same way she felt ever since the day Suzuka saved her at the lake. Of course, none of that means I had to take it lying down. I understand. But, Kyoko, I don't want you to die.
では、誠くんは鈴鹿に死んでほしいんですか？
No, I don't. But even Suzuka said she didn't want you to die.
鈴鹿は優しいですから。
She said that she herself, and not you, should be the one to disappear.
まさか、もう鈴鹿は。
Kyoko's eyes widen. The color drains from her face, and she reaches out with one hand, as if grasping for her friend. Since she cares for Suzuka strongly, I want her to understand that there are people who care for her just as strongly. Suzuka's still here. I wasn't lying when I said she went to the Asakawa's house.
よかった。
To try to soothe her fears, I take her outstretched hand in mine. I want you to understand. I could use my kotodama to force you to accept your parting with Suzuka, despite your true feelings. But I don't want to do that. Suzuka doesn't want me to do that either. She wants you to overcome her debt by yourself. That's what she told me.
そうなんですか。
Kyoko. I hold her hands up more tightly.
誠くん。
I know how strongly you want Suzuka not to go. But there are people who want just as strongly for you to not go. If you die, Suzuka will grieve. And so will I. When someone precious to you sacrifices themselves for your sake, it becomes very difficult to bear. Kyoko, You must know that better than anyone. Kyouko and Suzuka are both putting their lives on the line to save each other. That's how much they care about each other's happiness.
すみません。少し一人にしてもらえますか？よく考えたいと思います。
Sure. Late at night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Kyoko comes to my room. Perhaps the way she's dressed is a sign of her resolve.
すみません。こんな夜分になって。
I don't mind. How do you feel?
おかげさまで今はまあまあです。少し頭痛がしたんですけど、寝る前にマナちゃんが言霊で抑えてくださいました。
I see. I'm honestly amazed that Mana would do something like that. She must really like Kyoko. So, have you come to a decision?
まだ迷っています。誠くんの気持ち、鈴鹿の気持ち。それを無下にするのは心苦しいと思います。
The fear of your loved ones dying, the hope and desire for them to live, and the wish for the ones you say to live happily. You understand all these, don't you? Live happily. Cough, kuru ikuru.
はい。
She struggles to find the words to reply.
でもだからこそ、鈴鹿に生きていてほしいって願っているんです。もちろん残される側の辛さも分かっています。でも最初にいなくなったのは鈴鹿です。私をかばって犠牲になって、私はそれが辛くて。
I'm sure she's known what I'm trying to say from the beginning. She knows that Suzuka won't be happy to be saved by Kyoko's death. And yet,
でもいいんです。私の幸せは鈴鹿が生き返ることにあるんですから。鈴鹿だって私が幸せになるためだったら最後は許してくれると思います。甘いかもしれません。でも
dying for Suzuka's sake is your idea of happiness.
生きることだけが幸せとは限りませんから。
Even so, I don't think you need to give up on finding happiness in life.
そうやって幸せになろうと努力したことでかえって不幸になるかもしれません。
We're having this kind of debate with this woman. Oh man, but yeah, she did suffer some. She did suffer in her life, not as much as the ones that I know who would make the argument more compelling. But like, yeah.
生きてこそというのなら、それこそあんな幼くして死んでしまった鈴鹿は何だったのかということになります。自らの死を選んだ鈴鹿の意志を尊重するなら、私のこの気持ちも同じこと。
I don't know. That would be like denying Suzuka's sacrifice.
そうは思っていただけませんか？
She smiles. I was ready to try to persuade Kyoko to live, but she's come to prepare to persuade me to let her die. I promised Hotaru I'd keep everyone smiling and happy. All right, here we go. This is the stuff I was talking about when he was thinking about Hotaru's promises. This is one of those things that contradicted. But this is not the kind of smile I want to protect. I mean, the condition after all is everyone smiling and happy. Letting her die doesn't let everyone smile and be happy, you know. If I deny Kyoko of her idea of happiness, that will be breaking my promise. I know that, and yet I want her to live. I mean, letting her to die is also breaking the promise, you know. Kyoko, don't you have any regrets?
それはも もちろんいろいろありますよ。
It's a nasty question, I know. Even if she has accepted her own debt, she must have at least some regrets. If she didn't, she would have transferred her life force entirely to Suzuka a long time ago. So my question has no purpose but to try to remind Kyoko, a reason she might want to keep living. If she hesitates here, that could create the opening I need to convince her not to go through with it.
でも仕方がありません。
By the way, this is Rich coming from the guy who had a similar decision. Remember, he even had sex with Kokoro and all that, and he even thought about even and during his during the time when he was about to give out his life force, he thought about Kokoro, Mana, and damn, he wanted to have sex with Kyoko. That kind of shit, man. So it's kind of rich for some guy who. It's kind of rich coming from this guy, but you know, anyway.
鈴鹿だって家族にお別れを言うことはできなかったんですから。私だけいい思いをするわけにはいきませんよね。
I don't know whether she saw through my scheme, but her eventual answer is not encouraging. Okay, that might be so, but what about my regrets?
え？
Can't you think about how hard it will be for me to live on after I've lost you? She thinks deeply, as though she wasn't prepared for this line of attack.
形見代わりにこういうのはいかがでしょうか。
What? Are we gonna get an A sheet? What the fuck? No. Her eyes shimmering in the darkness of the room. She draws close and places her lips against mine. Fucking do it! I give her a kiss, then drape my body over Kyoko's. The nape of her neck, her back, her hips. I start to touch her body all over.
誠くん。
I caress Kyoko's body gently, so that she can feel the heat on my palms. You don't like being caressed like this.
嫌いどころか誠くんにされることは何でも大好き
By the way,
ですけど。
I think the timing of this A sheet is kind of dog shit. I mean, I get this is like. I think the timing for this one is dog shit. Like I haven't been strictly in a while, but this one, the timing for this one is straight on dog shit, man. They were so seriously talking about life and death. I mean, okay, I know some people who would actually literally have sex thinking about it after thinking about that kind of topic, but like, good. If you don't like it, I'll stop though.
誠くんの好きなようにしてください。
Okay. I nod, then continue rubbing her body intently. Kyoko's body shudders slightly, as if tickled by my touch.
なんだかマッサージしてもらってるみたいで、本当に幸せです。
Through her words, Kyoko's body is completely relaxed. When I think back on how tense with nervousness she was the first time, I realize how much she's changed. When you say it feels good, does that mean you're getting turned on?
それは私誠くんに触られるだけで感じますから、その見られてるだけでも。
I see. And that's the case. I'll make you feel even better and get even more turned on. I want her to get a real taste of the true feeling of living, the joy of living. Fine. Whatever. I lightly lift my fingers that are resting on Kyoko's abdomen and run them from her stomach to just below her chest. Kyoko's eyes are gradually getting more moist and erotic. If there's anywhere you'd like me to rub more, just let me know.
はい誠くん胸も一緒に
Following her instructions, I run my hands over her breast. I use my palms to gently massage the area around her breast with utmost courtesy, as if I'm handling a fragile object. Her reserved yet seductive voice, and the sighs escaping her lips, are feverish and overflowing with eroticism.
それ胸も下の手も気持ちいいですすごく感じます
What I was doing really shouldn't have been all that stimulating. Even so, it was turning her on, which probably means that Kyoko's heightened excitement was making her more sensitive today.
はい温かいのがじわじわ染みてきてお腹キューってなってでもすごく切ないです誠くんに私の触ってほしくなります
Rubbing her thighs together impatiently, Kyoko's voice yearns for more. Kyoko takes my hand that's placed on her abdomen and begins to guide it toward her privates. Where do you want me to touch? I'll like it if you be more specific. I intentionally stop her hand and whisper into her ear.
はいおまんこ触ってほしいんですさっきからうずいて切ないんです
After hearing her say that in a tone dripping with lust, there's after making love to Kyoko, I'm more certain than ever. Kyoko is dear to me. In the same way, so is Suzuka. They're each one person among the everyone I swore to protect. But people I never met don't fall under that umbrella. To me, it's like they don't exist. Before I left the village, the Sato was my whole world. Now my life here in this machi is my world. So if I lose one of the people who make up the foundation of my life, it would be no different from my whole world collapsing. In that case, there's no need for me to hesitate.
誠くん
Kyoko, you were awake?
いえうとうとしていて今目が覚めたところです
She sits up in bed and adjusts her clothes. Perhaps because we just finished making love, she seems a little lethargic. But there's no hesitation in her face. The original goal of easing her fear seems to have been accomplished. You won't change your mind? I'd hoped that by sleeping with her, rather than resolving her regrets, I might be able to create a new one.
ごめんなさいでも本当に幸せな時間でした
It seems my plan didn't work. Kyoko really is incredibly stubborn. But that's just a part of who she is. It doesn't make me angry.
ありがとうございました
It's not something you need to thank me for.
そうかもしれませんねでも言いたかったんです
She giggles then closes her eyes again. It seems she's fallen asleep again. While I'm gazing at her sleeping face, I think hard about what I should do next. I feel like we're home stretch for this route. Oh, we're gonna keep going then. After a night of pitiful sleep, fitful sleep, fitful sleep. Okay, maybe I also need sleep, but we're home stretch. I'm just gonna force myself here. I'm just gonna power through this. I wake up at the break of dawn. I decide to take a walk, hoping that the fresh air will calm me down. The streets are very quiet, early in the morning, but even so, I can sense the bustle of human activity inside the buildings. Today is the day of the water lantern ceremony. Kyoko is probably still asleep, but I wonder what Suzuka is doing. As Kyoko's ideal Suzuka, what did she think when she visited her family? She seemed to have felt nostalgic about Koichi, but strictly speaking, that emotion wasn't something that came directly from her. It was a kage, created by Kyoko, based on her Suzoruku sozo of what Suzuka she knew would have felt. This Suzuka isn't a yure formed from the tamashi of the original Suzuka. One extreme interpretation is that Kyoko is throwing away her current body and life and rebuilding herself as a yure in Suzuka's image. The question is, what does that mean? Is it just folly of a living being, acting for her own self-satisfaction, with no actual connection to the dead at all? When you've lost something with no hope of getting it back, you can't help but want to fill that hole in you somehow. And that's a very natural emotional reaction. The majority of people are probably incapable of ever fully accepting the concept of death, their own or anyone else's. All they can do when someone dies is to keep living with the discomfort and dissonance of it. I think that's why people have funerals, visit graves, hold water lantern ceremonies. By mourning the dead, they process those feelings. I only hope that Kyoko herself can admit these things. And I can only pray that tonight's water lantern ceremony will provide a good opportunity for her to process her own feelings.
奇遇だね。
As I continue to wander down the road, I suddenly run into Suzuka. She really looks nothing like a Yura anymore. She looks like a normal little girl. Sure is. But there might have been something that draws us together.
うん。まあそうかも。
Whatever, man. I just gonna believe whatever at this point. She admits, smiling really.
私は京子の魂からできてるけど、その媒介になったのは誠くんだから。何かどこかでちょっとだけつながっているものがあるのかもしれないね。
Wait, sorry. This is a weird timing for me to make this comment, but I realize this background looks familiar. It's like I've seen this in Rewrite for some reason. Maybe I'm imagining it. Anyway, what did you think? Seeing the Asakawa household.
不思議な感じだったよ。なんていうか、確認かな。
Kakunin?
こういう家族の中で育った人が京子の中の鈴鹿、自分を生み出したんだなっていうご先祖様を見ている気分ってとこ。
Gosenzo. He laughs.
すごく明るくて楽しそうで、ああいいなこういうのって思った。懐かしさも感じたけど、自分があそこに収まるようなそういうイメージは湧かなかったよ。
Soka. As someone who uses Kotodama to infiltrate the Oribe household, I don't really know how to feel about that.
だからやっぱり自分が消えるべきかなって改めて思った。消えるというのも正確じゃないかな。京子の中に帰る感じ。
Ah. Shigi. This Suzuka was born from Kyoko's own desires, and yet she accepts the need for her to disappear. Meanwhile, Kyoko herself shows no signs of accepting that. It seems contradictory. Wait. Yeah. Mate, yeah, they're actually the same. In the sense that they both want to sacrifice themselves for the other. I do think Suzuka's version of that desire is more logical and objective, though.
ちょうど今夜は灯籠流しもあるし、お別れするにはなかなかいいタイミングだよね。
Hi. But Kyoko seems to be thinking she'll be the one who's going to say goodbye tonight.
そう。意固地で困ったね。まあ私が言うのも変な話だけど、私と誠くんの2人で頑張って説得するしかないかな。
Yes. I hope she listens to us in the end. And in the worst case, well, I'll have to think about using my kotodama.
ここで悩んでいてもしょうがない。やるだけやってみるしかないでしょ。とにもかくにも夜だね。それまで束の間の生を楽しむことにするよ。
She smiles brightly and stretches. Suzuka said she wanted to wander around town until nightfall, so I let her go on her way as I returned home. I told Kyoko that we were going to meet up with Suzuka at the jinja, when the ceremony started. Why is she not wearing her Miko outfit for tonight's event? Now she's wearing her frilly dress. Kyoko was working harder than ever this morning, helping out at the Gisela. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. She swept outside the entrance, wiped down the windowsills, helped with the cooking, and even tried her hand at being a waitress. I was worried about her worsening health, but at least from the looks of it, she seemed well enough to be up and about. Maybe she was pulling together her last reserves of strength, thinking she'd have no use for them soon. And then in the afternoon, she headed out towards the jinja. I went with her, helped sweep the grounds again. After that, she served tea and snacks. The lantern ceremony crew. I went and said hello to various people. I'm sure none of them suspected she intended it to be her last meeting with them. Once we were done helping out at the jinja, we returned to Cafe Kisuden Origami, and Kyoko went to Kokoro's room to rest for a while. She must have been tired after a day's work, and wanted to be fresh for the ceremony. While she slept, I manned the counter at the Kisuden.
あれ？もしかしなくても兄さんも灯籠流し？
Oh yeah, it's been a while, Kokoro. After getting permission from Azuki-san, I'm preparing my things to head out when Kokoro calls out to me. Yeah, it only comes around once a year, so I thought I'd check it out. You're going Hotaru, right? I remember she mentioned that during dinner last night.
一緒に行く？
No thanks. I wouldn't want to get in your way.
邪魔なんてことありえないよ。変な遠慮しなくていいのに。
Well, actually, I already told someone I'd go with them. I think it's Suzuka. I don't know if she counts as someone else, since she's a Yurei. No, actually, she's a fragment of Kyoko's Tamashi. But I can't explain all that stuff to Kokoro now, even if I wanted to.
あ、そうなんだ。じゃあしょうがないね。
You don't want to hang out with your niece anymore? What? She grew out of it? She nods in understanding. The way she gives up quickly and doesn't pry. I'm really thankful for it right now.
残念だけど、また来年。
Ayashi. Rainen. I don't know whether it will be possible for me to stay here for another full year. But I hope that someday I can go to a water lantern ceremony with Kokoro and Hotaru.
あと、私もあんまりのんびりしていられる時間じゃなかった。そろそろ出かける準備しなきゃ。そういえば、マナちゃんはどうするのかな？
I don't know, but I guess she's probably not interested. A little while ago, I saw her burning her nose in the manga. From the looks of it, she's going to be reading that manga until bedtime. That's also convenient for the voice thing. voice casting thing.
そっか。それもまたまなちゃんらしいね。
She laughs, then leaves the living room to get ready. As she leaves, Kyoko enters quietly.
お待たせしました。
That's what you're wearing to the ceremony?
はい。これを着ると気持ちが引き締まるので。
Cutesy clothes look good on her too. But in the end, her Miko clothes suit her the best of all. Are you all ready to go?
はい。大丈夫です。行きましょう。
Once we step outside, Kyoko nonchalantly holds her hand out to me. Silently, I take her hand in mine and squeeze it. Her hand is rather cold to the touch. I think it shows how little life she must have left in her. Without a word, she starts walking, somewhat awkwardly. As she walks, she looks hard at everything we pass by, as if to burn the images into her mind. She must be thinking this is the last time she'll see this scenery. Kyoko, how are you feeling? Are you really okay walking this fast? Kyoko!
はい、そうですね。
Were you listening to me?
すみません。聞いていませんでした。
How are you feeling?
それでしたら、はい、大丈夫です。
Okay, if you say so.
ご心配をおかけして、申し訳ありません。
That's fine. I squeeze her hand again. By the time we reach the foot of the staircase up in the jinja, the sky has turned from red to deep gray. One reason it took so long was that so many people, especially seniors, stopped us to give their regards to Kyoko. Part of it must have been because everyone is headed to the ceremony, and Kyoko is wearing a Miko uniform. Each person didn't take very long, but there were many of them, and some of them also wanted to chat about this and that. Suzuka and I then settled on the specific time to meet at the jinja, but I'm sure she's already waiting for us by now. When we finally arrive at the jinja, Suzuka immediately comes out to meet us. As I expected, she had arrived first.
こんばんは。二人とも思ったより遅かったね。ごめんなさい。途中で知り合いの方からいろいろ声をかけられて。その格好だもん。目立つよね。
Suzuka laughs as she inspects Kyoko's costume. What do you mean costume?
すごく似合ってる。決まってるっていうのかな。綺麗で立派だよ、京子。ありがとう。さてと、じゃあ早速だけど移動しない？もっと近くで見たいんだ、灯籠流し。はい。
Okay. Led by Suzuka, we start walking down towards the lake. By the time we arrive, the water lantern ceremony has already started. Countless pale lights flicker upon the black surface of the water. It's a beautiful, magical sight. The main cruise seems to have behind a bend in the coastline from here. We can't see them, but we can see their lanterns float out on the water. That and the relative lack of people here gives the scene a mystic, almost ethereal quality. It's a good place to have a difficult, complicated conversation.
綺麗だね。ほんと。ええ。
Suzuka and Kyoko look out onto the lake, entranced by the lights of the lanterns floating out in the water. The two of them, both preparing to say their farewells, are looking at the same beautiful sight and are being moved in the same way.
昔から水辺は生死の境に例えられる。だから灯籠流しは光を魂に見立てて向こう側、あの世に送る儀式。そうだよね。
Thanks for explaining that, because now I didn't know that, so I'm learning. Suzuka asks Kyoko, her tone lighthearted. She shows no sign that she's talking about herself.
そうです。
Kyoko nods, answering after a small pause. The real Suzuka probably never knew what this Suzuka just said about earth and water, life and death. I'm sure Kyoko hesitated to answer because she realized that.
まあそういうものって結局全部生きている人が自分たちのために考えたことだけど、でもせっかくだから私がそれに便乗させてもらって向こうへ行くのも悪くない。そう思わない？ダメです。それは鈴鹿ではなく私です。どうして？せっかく助かった命じゃない。大事にしてほしいな。その点、私はそもそも本物の鈴鹿じゃない。京子の願望から生まれた偽物だし。違います。鈴鹿は偽物なんかじゃ、ただの作り物なんかじゃありません。そうだね。京子を成長させるために生まれたんだから、ただのではないかな。
She puts away her smile and looks into Kyoko's eyes. Her face serious now.
私はこのために生まれたんだよ。京子がずっと抱えてきたもやもやした気持ちを解消するためにね。後悔と罪悪感から京子を解放するために消える。それが私の選んだ道。
This time, Kyoko has nothing to say in reply. All she could do is open her eyes wide, keeping them fixed on Suzuka's face.
残念だけど京子、鈴鹿本人になるには私は多分よくできすぎていたんだと思うよ。それはその分だけ京子の魂が優れていたってことなんだけどね。
Suzuka smiles gently.
だから受け入れて京子。私は言ってみれば崩壊を遂げるの。ダメです、ダメです、そんなの。鈴鹿はこれから生きていくんです。家族や友達と一緒に新しい人生を謳歌するんです。鈴鹿が死んだ後、私だけが味わっていた幸せをちゃんと受け取るんです。気持ちは嬉しいけど遠慮しておくよ。きっと本物の鈴鹿もそう思うはずだからね。どうしてそんな風に言うんですか？私も鈴鹿も今の京子に死んでほしくないからだよ。京子が生きて幸せでいてくれることがすごく嬉しいからだよ。だからお願い、私を生き返らせようなんて思わないで。鈴鹿。
Kyoko is speechless at Suzuka's words. She searches for what to say, but coming up short, she turns to me for help.
誠くん。
Gomen ne, Kyoko. I can't give you the kind of answer you're looking for.
誠くんも認めてくれないんですか？
Wait, is
私
this?
の気持ちを。
Why is the lines like denial of a confession here? I understand your feelings, and I respect them. But what I can't accept is your decision to throw away your life.
ほらね、誠くんもこう言ってるでしょ。だから私と鈴鹿とちゃんとお別れしよう、京子。
She smiles and tries to shake Kyoko's hand, but Kyoko doesn't respond.
私は鈴鹿に生きていてほしいんです。 京子の気持ちは嬉しいけど、それは無理だよ。京子を死なせてまで生き延びたいなって思えないもん、私自身が。
A nostalgic look comes over Suzuka's face.
本物の鈴鹿もきっとそうだったんじゃないかな。だから鈴鹿のためにも京子は私だって鈴鹿の命を犠牲にしてまで生きようなんて思ってなかった。鈴鹿がいなくなってから死にたいって思ったこと一度や二度じゃありません。湖に身を投げようと思ったこともあります。ここで死ねば鈴鹿に会えるかもしれないって。だけど私の命は鈴鹿に助けてもらったものだから、私が勝手に捨てていいものじゃないから、死ぬ権利がないから生きなくちゃいけないって必死に言い聞かせてきたのに。
Kyouko. I never seen her bare her soul like this.
ずっと苦しんでたんだね。
Suzuka's eyes glisten with tears.
よしよし、今までよく頑張ったね。偉い偉い。
She smiles gently and clasps Kyoko's hand tighter.
私もね、ちょっと思うよ。本物の鈴鹿もひどいよねって。一人でかっこよく死んじゃうなんて無責任だったよね。そうです、身勝手すぎます。鈴鹿のバカ、どうして死んじゃったんですか。私を置いていなくなってしまったんですか。
Large tears roll from the corners of Kyoko's eyes as she begins to sob.
悲しかった、寂しかった、辛かった。せっかくできた友達だったのに、これからもっともっとたくさん遊んで、たくさん楽しいことを分かち合えると思ってたのに、あんまりです。せめて幽霊でもいいから会いに来てほしかった。ごめんね、京子。鈴鹿もずっと謝りたかったんだよ。京子を一人にして悪かったねって。
Kyoko finally returns Suzuka's grip in her hand.
そうです。どれだけ私がどれだけ寂しい思いをしたと思ってるんですか。本当にごめんね、京子。よしよし。鈴鹿に言いたかった文句、私が受け止めて持っていくから。京子、鈴鹿を許してあげてね。鈴鹿も本当は死にたくなんてなかったんだよ。あの時暗くて冷たい水の中で苦しくて、それでもなんとか助かりたくて精一杯もがいた。私も私だって京子とお別れなんかしたくなかったに決まってる。
She clasps Kyoko's hand even harder as her voice breaks. Suzuka begins to weep as well.
鈴鹿、でもね、いよいよ、これはダメだ。自分はもう助かりそうにないって薄れていく意識の中で本当に心から祈ったの。せめて残された京子はどうか幸せでありますようにってね。だから私のためにももう っともっと幸せになってよ、京子。
Wiping her tears with one hand and smiling once again, Suzuka steps away from Kyoko. And slowly, she starts wading into the water.
名残惜しいけど、そろそろお別れしよう。さよなら、京子。鈴鹿、待って。
Despite Kyoko's plaintive cry, Suzuka continues to step away from the shore without answering. She walks slowly, leaving not even a ripple on the water surface.
言ってはダメ。
I hold Kyoko tight as she struggles, trying to follow Suzuka.
話してください、誠くん。
I'm sorry, I can't.
そうそう、ちゃんと誠くんの言うこと聞かないとね。こんなに京子のことを大切に考えてくれてるんだから、悲しませたり辛い思いをさせたらダメだよ。
She looks back at us and smiles softly.
誠くんも改めて京子のことよろしくね。
I nod wordlessly.
ねえ、待って、お願い。鈴鹿、行かないで。やっぱり鈴鹿じゃなくて何もできない私が。
In contrast to Kyoko's anguished state, Suzuka is very calm as she looks back at us. Suddenly, she looks like she remembers something.
ああ、そうそう。京子に言っておきたいことがあるの忘れてた。京子ね、一つ勘違いしてるよ。勘違い？そう、京子ってさ、自分は鈴鹿に声をかけてもらって、それで友達になった。そう思い込んでるでしょ？何せ、私の記憶もそうなってたから。でも、違ったんだよ。それ。
What do you mean? Suzuka flashes an impish smile at Kyoko, who is open-mouthed in confusion.
声をかけてもらったのは、むしろ鈴鹿の方だった。親と喧嘩して、家を飛び出して、神社の境内で座り込んでいた鈴鹿に、京子が声をかけて友達になった。
My bad.
自分でも思い出せるはずだよ。ほら、胸に手を当てて、よく考えて。
Kyoko puts one hand on her chest and presses her temple with the other, growing deeply.
だいぶ強く思い込んでたから、難しいかな。誠くん、ちょっと手伝ってあげてもらえる？
Suzuka looks at me. I immediately understand what she wants me to do. Kyoko, remember the first time you met Suzuka? I whispered the kotodama into Kyoko's ear.
思い出した？はい、そうです。そうでした。
Understanding slowly dawns in her eyes as the memory comes back.
私、あの日たまたま家のお手伝いが早く終わったので、境内の脇でのんびりおやつを食べようと思って外に出たら、悔し泣きしてる私を見つけたんだよね。
Suzuka laughs gently.
はい、でもどう声をかけたらいいかわからなくて、私思わず「これ食べる？」って持っていたおせんべいを差し出したら、顔を上げた鈴鹿が涙をこぼしながらそれに食いついて。そうそう、それ食べたらなんかケロッと気持ちが収まってさ。結構単純だよね、私って。そうでした。 鈴鹿ってそういう子でしたね。
Kyoko starts smiling too, remembering that day.
自分が泣いていたこと恥ずかしくて人に知られたくなかったから、私京子にお願いしたの。絶対このことは誰にも人に言わないでね、秘密にしてね。京子はほんと律儀だから、多分それを真に受けすぎちゃったんだと思う。
As Suzuka laughs, Kyoko starts to smile, through her tears and confusion too. But what does the Suzuka know about that? The Suzuka was created from Kyoko's Kyoku. Okay, I just realized that's a pun. So how can she know something Kyoko has already forgotten? In fact, she even knows things Kyoko couldn't ever have known. Before, the Suzuka used to know and do things the real Suzuka wouldn't have. That's how I concluded she wasn't the real Suzuka's Yure. But if that's the case,
京子は自分のこと引っ込み思案だと思ってるけど、私からすれば思慮深い女の子だよ。それでいて、いざという時には踏み出せる勇気もある。誰にでも優しくできる心を持っている。幽霊の私を大事にしてくれるくらいだもん。そんな女の子が何もできないなんて、私のことを引きずって悩み続けていない限りはね。私はもういいの。こうやって京子にまた会えて満足したから。
Kyoko goes limp in my arms. She too has finally started to realize the change that's come over Suzuka.
成長した京子の姿を見られた。家族は前向きに暮らしてた。だからもう大丈夫。鈴鹿、やっぱりあなたは。
Suzuka doesn't reply to her question.
ねえ京子、私のことを思ってくれるのなら私のお願い。鈴鹿、何を。あなたは私の分まで生きて幸せになって。
Something about her voice strikes Kyoko differently this time. It's almost as if Suzuka is speaking a kotodama.
それとね、もう京子の口からお別れの言葉を聞かせて。それが私の最後のお願い。
Kyoko's hands grasp mine with crushing force. I say nothing and gently place my other hand over hers. She doesn't speak, either, but her feelings come across all the same. Indecision, confusion, deep regret from a parting come too soon. And more than anything else, the desire to grant Suzuka's last wishes. But sometimes it's important to speak your words out loud.
ありがとうございます、誠くん。
Because sometimes you have to choose. No matter how sad you are, and no matter how hard it may be.
鈴鹿もありがとう。あの時助けてくれて本当にありがとう。
Sometimes you have to decide which path you can be satisfied with.
鈴鹿が自分の命と引き換えにしたことは悲しかったし、少しだけ恨みました。でも鈴鹿の命と交換にした価値を示さないといけないから、私なりに必死で頑張ってきました。だけど鈴鹿に比べたら全然だと思います。鈴鹿だったら何をやっても私以上にできたはずですから。だけどそんな私のことを大事だって言ってくれる素敵な友人と出会いました。そんな友人を増やして楽しそうなことに挑戦して幸せになる努力をしてみようと思います。恋をしたり家族を作ったり、そうやって 鈴鹿ができなかったことをしていきたいと思います。私は私で鈴鹿にはなれませんから、私なりに幸せな人生を目指したいと思います。最後のその時に私自身の人生に満足だと胸を張れるように頑張りますから。いつの日かまた鈴鹿に会える日が来ると思います。その時は幸せだったことを報告して自慢してみせます。鈴鹿が羨むぐらい幸せになりますから。だから私はもう大丈夫ですから。さようなら、鈴鹿。また会う時まで安らかに眠ってください。
A heat wells up from deep inside my body, mixing with Kyoko's words to form a kotodama. The kotodama races across the water and reaches Suzuka.
ありがとう、京子。あの時助けられてよかったよ。
Her outlines begin to disintegrate into a faint light.
私の分まで楽しんで生きてね。京子の報告楽しみに待ってるから。
Starting from her edges, she begins to transform into tiny particles of light that drip up into the Yozora. They seem to travel up in the river in the sky, disappearing as they cross over to the other side.
じゃあね。
Soon, we can no longer see her form. All that's left is a streak of light that rises at last into the sky and disappears. What's left around us is darkness and solitude. That Suzuka was standing before us just moments ago now seems almost like a dream. Kyouko is crouching at the shoreline, staring silently into the dark water.
私ちゃんとお別れできたでしょうか。
She murmurs without turning to face me. You did. I crouch down next to her on the beach. Putting my arm around her shoulders, I draw her into a hug. It was a good sending off. Ganbatta, Kyouko. Otsukare. Just like Suzuka did earlier, I quietly rub Kyoko's back. Her tears begin to flow again, as if a dam had just broken, as she sobs into my arms. She presses her face to my chest as she continues to cry her heart out. The night breeze has become a little chilly as it continues to gently stroke our cheeks and hair. Though she's grieving now, curled up in a heap on the sand, the Kyouko I know will surely stand up again and keep moving forward. One day she'll come back to this place, standing tall with a smile on her face. Ooh, chapter 10. Some time has passed since we said goodbye to Suzuka. Kyouko is slowly but surely regaining her strength. She still hasn't fully recovered from her ordeal, but I can feel her determination to keep moving forward. Of course, now that we're free to move more than 10 meters apart, there's no reason for her to live with us anymore. She has returned to living at the Jinja and is working there even harder than before. Suzuka's summoning probably wasn't due to my and Kyoko's powers overlapping alone. The Jinja was a special place for Kyoko and Suzuka when they were children. It was where they first met. And at this point, I can only guess, but maybe the real Suzuka's Tamashi was wandering amongst the memories that filled this place. Kyoko has sworn anew to protect this sacred place that's so full of her memories with Suzuka. Even Koichi has started visiting once in a while. And seems half the reason he comes is to eat Kyoko's snacks though.
すみません。結局掃除を手伝っていただいて。
I mean, they could get together, but I guess I guess it'll be surprised when they do their own age stream that she's no longer virgin and or whatever. But like, yeah, okay. Anyway, not that it matters, but like, it's faster when we work together.
おかげさまで助かりました。
She bows to me in gratitude, then puts her hand to her chest and looks into my eyes.
本当に私が今こうしていられるのは誠くんのおかげです。何から何までお世話になりました。ありがとうございます。
You don't have to thank me. We're friends after all, aren't we?
はい。でもやっぱりお礼を言いたいです。
She smiles gently.
鈴鹿に助けられ、誠くんに助けられ、本当にいろんな方に助けていただいて私は生きてきたんだなって。だからこれからは私が誰かを助けられるように頑張りたいと思います。
That's good. That's how the chain of human society is built. I think. By passing our thoughts and wishes forward to new people. Everyone dies eventually. Each human being, no matter who they are, will one day leave this world. But if someone is there to remember them and carry out their will, in some form, then that remains. And human society continues on. Maybe that's really humans' best way to honor the dead.
そうですね。人のつながりって私が思っていたよりもはるかに素晴らしいものだったんだなって思います。これからはもっとたくさんの人とつながっていきたいです。
Communication.
はい。
She smiles in a way I've never seen before. It's like a flower blooming in front of my eyes. She's beautiful.
誠くんのことも助けられるようになりたいです。
You've already helped me in many times over.
私は一生かかっても返しきれないほどお世話になったと思ってますから。
You're so dramatic, Kyoko. I suppose that part of her will never change.
ちっとも大げさなんかじゃありません。
She looks as if she's steeling herself for something.
私、本気です。ずっと死ぬまで誠くんのおそばで使えさせていただけたらと。
Huh? Huh? それは... At some point, she said something about becoming my personal Miko. Was that not a joke? Oh, right. Okay. Sure. This is where the story ends. All right. We're moving on for Kyoko's route. We're moving on Kyoko's route. Kyoko, you're a very dear friend to me. Oh no! She was confessing there. So, I don't want you to serve me. I hope we can keep being good friends on equal terms.
はい。あ、いえ、嬉しいです。
Despite her words, I see a shadow pass across her face. You just know. That was her really confessing. Kyoko, she may have meant that she thinks of me more than a friend. And I do like her as a woman as well. But that's exactly why I'm not able to accept her feelings as they are right now. She still talks about how she owes me a great debt, and how she wants to serve me for the rest of her life. That may be a metaphor for romantic love, but to me, it sounds like she pictures me more as a master than a partner. I'm happy that she appreciates what little I've done for her. But when I help someone, I'm not looking for anything in return. A simple thank you is more than enough payment for me. That's the only right way to do it. Kyouko has finally made her peace with Suzuka, whose death has haunted her for so long. And right now, she's finally starting to step forward on her own. Just like I did, on the day I left the village. I care about her too much to let her throw that away for my sake. So, I'll support her as she keeps pushing forward. And maybe one day, she'll approach me again. This time, not asking to be behind or below me, but asking to be truly by my side. Until that day arrives, though, she will be my dear and cherished friend. You know what? Each time I read the monologue when you choose not to accept their their feelings, it's like convincing me, I shouldn't check out their routes because it's not right.
いえ、ありがとうございます。誠くんは私の数少ない大切なお友達ですから。
Man, let's cope.
ずっとお友達でいてくださいね。
She smiles bashfully as she sticks out her right hand. I feel a little apologetic, but thankful for her friendship. Of course, I wouldn't have it any other way. I take her hand.
はい、こちらこそ。これからもどうぞよろしくお願いします。
She smiles happily as she firmly shakes my hand.